This is part 2 of my Everything You Eat is Nuts series. In this video, I'm going to talk about how seeds are plant babies and how plants protect their babies with toxins. A concept that's important to this discussion is to recognize that no plant wants to be eaten, but they especially don't want their babies eaten. So they defend their babies by packing them full of poisons. I'm not just saying this to hate on plants. There are many types of plant defense chemical that are well documented and are highly toxic to humans. I'll go through a bunch of these toxins starting in the next video in this series. I will point out here the exception that proves the rule. The exception is that a limited number of plants bear fruit to entice a limited number of animals to consume it, thereby dispersing the seeds. But in this case, the plant still doesn't want its seeds to actually be eaten and destroyed by digestion. The seeds must remain intact. So there's no instance where plants actually want their seeds ground up and eaten. They just want them dispersed. There is a very strong evolutionary basis for plants to be toxic. This includes leaves, stems, and roots, but especially seeds. Seeds are packed with energy and nutrients that allow the plant to grow underground until it can reach the surface and begin using photosynthesis for energy. Since seeds are relatively energy and nutrient dense, they are particularly appealing to many predators, which will naturally want to exploit the nutrition in seeds by eating them. Contrary to what this cartoon would suggest, plants can't run away. They are literally stuck in the ground, and therefore being poisonous is their main defense against predators. Conversely, animals can run away, and this is typically their first line of defense against predators. So there is a very strong evolutionary basis for plants, and especially their seeds, to evolve toxic chemicals that deter predators from eating them. I think it's important to emphasize this concept because it helps dispel the faulty narrative that we are constantly subjected to, which is that plants are nurturing, wholesome, healing, altruistic, and healthy, and would never contain toxins that harm you. This is the complete opposite of reality. Plants are evolutionarily driven to create and use toxins to deter animals, insects, and microbes from eating them. They don't want to be eaten. And as Dr. Anthony Chaffee often says, plants are trying to kill you. Need more evidence? Prove it to yourself. Go for a walk in the forest and have a look around. Virtually everything you will see is not only unpalatable, but is actually highly toxic and can kill you even if eaten in small amounts. Have you ever wondered why we don't eat leaves, grass, foliage, and most berries, etc.? It's not because they don't taste good. It's because they're highly toxic. They are full of toxins. As I'll discuss in later videos, many of the foods we eat contain the same toxins, just in lower amounts. Plants from the grocery store have been domesticated and farmed, but this is not typical of what you'll find in nature. Edible plants are exceedingly rare in nature, compared to the number of plants that we can't eat. Almost all of the edible plants that we are familiar with today have been bred to be more palatable and less toxic. The fruits and vegetables you'll find in the supermarket look nothing like what they did even 100 years ago, let alone 100,000 years ago. This subject is by itself worthy of a video because virtually all of the produce in a grocery store is an abomination of what it originally was. Virtually everything has been bred to be plumper, juicier, sweeter, less fibrous, and less toxic than what our ancestors would have known. Here's some examples from an article from businessinsider.com. The article is called, "Here's What Fruits and Vegetables Looked Like Before We Domesticated Them." Here we have a wild watermelon and a modern domesticated watermelon. Here we have a wild banana and a modern banana. Here we have a wild carrot and a modern carrot. Imagine eating this bad boy. No butter, no salt, and probably raw. If it was between a steak and this, what would you eat? Keep in mind also that the produce you're used to eating has been shipped in from all over the world, and our ancestors didn't have access to that either. We could only eat what was seasonal and local. Just because you can eat grocery store fruits and vegetables today without getting sick doesn't mean you were designed to eat them. It means they were designed to be more palatable and less toxic to you. But that doesn't mean they're optimal for you, or that they meet your nutritional requirements, or that all toxins have been removed. I think it's important to pay attention to what our ancestors ate because it shows what we, as biological machines, are built to eat. Koala bears eat eucalyptus leaves, and only eucalyptus leaves. They can't eat a zebra. Conversely, a lion can eat a zebra, but if you tried feeding it a eucalyptus salad, it would die. Robins eat worms, insects, and berries, and vultures eat what they eat. An animal must eat what it's designed to eat. Humans are biological machines, and we are clearly designed to eat meat. I will discuss human physiological adaptations to eating meat in later videos. One of the things you can do without needing to read textbooks or scientific papers is to just pay attention to what you can digest and absorb. One of the things you'll notice if you try the carnivore diet is that you don't have to go to the bathroom nearly as much. One estimate I've heard, which I'll describe on the next slide, is that carnivores produce about 1/5 to 1/6 the amount of waste that a person on an average standard diet would create. As someone who eats a carnivore diet, I can confirm the volume of waste you produce is significantly reduced. And no, it's not because you're constipated. You would burst if food kept getting backed up. It's because your body can digest meat exquisitely well, and there is very little waste left over after digestion that needs to exit your body. The simple fact that your body can break down and absorb meat so efficiently helps to inform you that this is something you're meant to eat. Digestion occurs in the small intestine, shown in blue in this diagram. In the person on the left who's eating lots of fiber, much of the food that is ingested ends up in the large intestine, and I've shown that in yellow. This is because the fiber can't be digested or absorbed, and so it moves through the small intestine, basically untouched, and into the colon. The small intestine contains relatively few bacteria and other microorganisms. However, the colon contains many microbes, which feed off of fiber, and so when you consume fiber, you are in effect feeding these microbes. Compare the gut of a plant-eating individual on the left to a carnivore on the right. Because the carnivore is only eating meat, the majority of food is absorbed in the small intestine, and very little waste passes into the colon. The waste that does move into the colon is relatively devoid of nutrition, and so presumably there would be far fewer bacteria able to survive and thrive in this waste. And so in addition to a dramatically decreased volume of waste reaching your colon, the number of live bacteria that are there will, in theory, be vastly reduced as well, because there's nothing for the microbes to feed on. Now consider that somewhere around 70% of your immune system exists in the gut to keep your gut microbes in check. So what do you think is going to be easier for your immune system to deal with? Eating a bunch of fiber, which bulks up the volume of waste in your colon and dramatically increases the number and activity of microbes in your gut? Or eating meat, which does the complete opposite? I believe that this simple observation is one of the main reasons why we see such a significant reduction in autoimmunity and other inflammatory conditions when people go on a carnivore diet. They are simply eating what their body is designed to eat, and that relieves the pressure on the immune system. I'll talk more about human digestive anatomy in more detail in later videos. In the previous slide, I noted a reduction of stool volume for those eating a carnivore diet. In addition, there appears to be a significant reduction in gas production. This was noted by Vilhelmer Stefansson, who was an Arctic explorer who lived with the Inuit between 1906 and 1907. He ate what they ate, and he noted that he passed far less gas and passed a fifth to a sixth of the residue he was accustomed to. You can find references to this article, which is probably available from a number of sources, but I found it posted on X by @JEverettLearned. There's all kinds of stuff on Vilhelmer Stefansson and his experiences on the internet if you're interested. Show of hands, who has ever eaten corn on the cob and then happened to notice the next time they used the toilet that there were pristine kernels of corn in there? How can a kernel of corn go all the way through your digestive tract and come out the other end looking exactly the same as when it went in? It's because you can't digest it, and that should help to inform you as to whether or not you should be eating it. But isn't fiber supposed to be good for you? Don't we need fiber? No, not in my opinion. Disclaimer, this is the complete opposite of what you will hear from a typical nutritionist. But in my opinion, fiber isn't beneficial to humans and is in some cases detrimental. After eating a carnivore diet for 7 years, I personally believe that fiber is at best completely unnecessary. More on this in another video. That's all for part 2. I hope you'll join me for part 3, where I'll discuss actual examples of plant toxins and how they harm us.